Hey guys, this is Mitch Kendra. Welcome to another Racer X Roundtable. We're joined here by Boots on the Ground man, PA photographer Cody Dar, and Travis Delnicki from the New England area. These guys are pretty in tune with the industry in general, but also on the amateur scene. And that's what we're going to be talking about here is the SMX Next Supercross, which is basically the Supercross Futures program. They have their first event of 2025 this weekend at the Glendale Supercross, which is round four for the 450 Supercross Championship. So we're going to give you guys a little bit of background on the Supercross Futures program, a little bit of the changes and everything that's come to it, some of the top riders, aka graduates, if you want to call them that are doing well in the pro scene now, and just give you guys a little bit of information here as we ramp up for the first SMX Next Supercross event for this year. And again, I kind of mentioned it, the program is revamped a little bit slightly from last year. Basically, there was no Supercross Futures program during 2021 and COVID. And then for 2022, they brought it back. But instead of having kind of older guys, veteran riders, younger kids, your average Joes, they really brought it back with a focus on the A and B group of the top amateurs that were going to turn pro. And this really helped this event or this program grow to almost a stepping stone for the riders that were going to turn pro here. So they took the program instead of racing on Saturday or racing on Sundays on tamed down tracks. The Supercross Futures events basically run throughout the day of the actual pro Supercross, which gives them not only TV coverage but also experience on the pro tracks. They're not tamed down. These are the same built whoops that the guys are hitting for the 450 and 250 main events. So that also helps them a lot to get kind of racing under the lights experience, which we'll talk about. And again, that's as we mentioned, it's the SMX Next program. Supercross version is basically what Supercross Futures has been labeled as. And in the SMX Next Motocross version, which we'll see in this summer in the AMA Pro Motocross Championship, is basically kind of relabeled for the the MX Sports Scouting Moto Combine events. So those are just kind of labeled under the SMX Next program in general. But again, the Supercross and Motocross distinction. Obviously, in Supercross Futures, we do have a championship finale main event this weekend, this year it will take place in Pittsburgh. Again, we'll talk on the schedule here in a minute. Whereas the the SMX Next Motocross does not have a championship. Those are just mostly for experience and getting those guys racing experience on those pro tracks. And again, kind of simulating a race day experience. So real quick, let's just talk to Cody. You mentioned you were a mechanic, kind of behind the scenes guy at the Supercross Futures in the past. So just give us a little bit of your insight, what the program entails, kind of the behind the scenes stuff. I think there's some things that, there's classroom sessions and people don't realize that are taking place in the program.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a mechanic for one of my friends that went through the program, and it is a really informative program for the kids. They get to learn a lot. It basically is a simulated pro day. They do get more, practice time on the track. While last year we had a couple sessions, we were able to ride free practice or ride practice during press day, and then they gave us practice even during the Saturday event, and then leading into the night show, making the main event. They do everything from your normal tech inspection. They have a media training class. They kind of have all these guidances for these kids to follow to, help them mold and get into the pro ranks, which is a great benefit for these kids. And just going and watching my friend go through it himself, it was very beneficial, and we learned a lot. It was a great time, and thankfully, while we were there at MetLife, we missed the rain, and it was, not a muddy mess for us, but it was a good time, good learning experience, and looking forward to seeing how these kids shape up this weekend and into the future.
Yeah, and real quick, like you mentioned that East Rutherford round, the 2023 event, um, was actually a really good main event for those Supercross Futures guys between Daxton Bennick and Julian Beaumer, and we'll talk about some of those graduates here in a minute. Um, yeah, like you said, I think you kind of recapped it pretty well when you said simulated race day or simulated pro day. I think that's what these guys, you can go to an amateur race, but sometimes you're sitting around for hours and hours between races. But like you mentioned, that kind of schedule you have to follow, you have to be on point with everything. And it kind of just helps those guys get that experience that, maybe some of these guys that are at training facilities do get, and some of the other guys that aren't at training facilities don't get. Um, all right, so let's just think about it from, I guess, watching at home or, watching from the couch or kind of an outside perspective. Travis, what do you think about the Supercross Futures program now that it's kind of revamped as the, top A and B riders?
Yeah, I really enjoy watching it, and I really wish that I would have had this opportunity when I raced Supercross for a few years, and man, I wish that would have just had this opportunity just to know what to expect, before turning pro. And yeah, it's actually like really crazy to see like how many guys have come through the program and like been successful. Um I was just looking the top four in the finals last year at Salt Lake. They all were in the 250 main event last weekend. So it's like the program is working, and I definitely think we're seeing kids come into the pro rank more prepared. And I don't think it's a coincidence. It's definitely helping.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of kids that, like you mentioned from your own experience, that maybe not really know what to expect, and then they go to pro day and you're the pro Supercross racing for the first time, and you're like, oh wow. And everybody watching in the stands, obviously there's practice and then qualifying and whatnot, but being able to live it is one thing versus just like going and watching in the stands. So yeah. Okay, so you guys talked a little bit about some of those guys that are, I guess, we quote unquote graduates of the program. Let's talk about the podium from this last weekend here at Anaheim too. Hayden Deegan picked up the race win, his first win of the season, followed by Julian Beaumer, and then Cole Davies snuck in on that third and final podium spot after Jordan Smith had a crash. And again, those all three of those guys came to this program. We saw them battling one another as amateurs at Loretta's, at different races here and there. And then last year in the Supercross Futures program, Gold Davies was a champion. I think it's really exciting to see those guys all land on the podium because, yeah, these guys are coming in prepared and racing against Joe Shimoda, Michael Mosiman, Hunter Yoder, some of these guys that have been at it for a few years, and they're fighting for race wins and podiums. So, Travis, what were your takeaways, I guess, from the, SMX Next Futures podium over the weekend in Anaheim?
Yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend for the program in general. It makes it look like it's working. I mean, even we saw Parker Ross run in the top five for a while, and Drew Adams made his debut. So, I mean, yeah, it's starting to become like quite a bit of the guys in the whole field, and right now in the 250 class have gone through the program. So, yeah, it's cool to see.
Yeah, and I think let's see, I have a list here of roughly like how many guys are pro between the two regions. Obviously, we haven't had an East Coast Supercross yet, but I think between the list of current guys right now, I've Ryder DiFrancesco, Cole Davies, Casey Cochran's gonna be racing here east, Chance Hymas, Daxton Bennick, he got a podium in his first Supercross race, Detroit last year. Gavin Towers on the West Coast here, Avery Long, Talon Hawkins, Lux Turner. Lux Turner's having a really good breakout year, I think, this year. He's one of those guys that's kind of underrated. You mentioned Parker Ross. He had a really good ride the other day. I think he crashed and kind of had this wind taken out of his sails, but he's kind of been one of those sneaky good guys at Supercross Futures the last couple of years. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, we're gonna have Mark Finnis, a bunch of guys on the East Coast here. It's uh, Preston Masiangelo made his first main event over the weekend. Like you mentioned, Drew Adams. There's so many guys in the next, month and a half that we're going to see here in Supercross main events, both East and West region. So it's really exciting. I guess one question for each of you guys, and we'll start with Cody here. Which Supercross Futures graduate have you been most impressed with so far? I know we're only 3 rounds in. We haven't seen East yet, but
Yeah.
so far.
Personally, Cole Davies. I know Juju and Hayden are the top stars right now, but I believe once Cole, gets another year under his belt, I truly believe he will be a force to reckon with. And he just gets it. I think I heard Adam Cincerello talk about it. He just has so much bike control already early on in his career. Um, to be at that state already, um, it's pretty amazing to watch. And I get sucked into just wanting to know where he's at or watching him,
Mhm.
just because he's a great rider and he's very fast on the dirt bike.
And Travis, what do you think? Who's your, I guess, standout rider so far? 3 races in this year.
Yeah, it's hard to go against Cole Davies, but I'll go a little bit more under the radar and say Lux Turner. Um, I know he raced last year, but got injured at A1, and I think he came back for a few more, but he's been super impressive and like he's one of those guys that got, I feel like he got an opportunity to race futures. Some of the kids with rides, it's kind of just par for the course for them to do this, but I think some of the kids with less support, it's an opportunity for them to prove themselves. And I think that, Lux definitely had that opportunity and he's performing on the big stage now. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm definitely very impressed with Lux.
Yeah, those are two great kids, both good individuals, good on the racetrack. And again, Davey's only 17 years old. Like you mentioned, he's coming out swinging, and he's only raced in the U.S. here a couple times in 2023. He did a couple Supercross futures. Um, and he came back for the Moto Combine and was hole shotting, and everybody's like, "Oh, who's this kid?" And then now he's full time here with Star, and definitely turning heads here as a rookie. And some of these guys too, you got to think they jump into the pro scene, they jump right into motocross because that's what they're familiar with. So for him to jump into 17 years old right into Supercross is like, almost as they say, a true freshman in college sports. It's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. I watched him at Loretta's this past year, and that was his first time at Loretta's.
Mhm.
And just how he picked up that track and the format there, and how he just was really good off the starts. He was very dominant there. He led a lot of laps and I think brought home some moto wins. But it's it's hard not to get sucked into watching him.
Yeah, I think you pointed out to me he was jumping the tabletop over the tower jump at the end of the lap. That was a pretty big line, and yeah, for his first time there, he's pretty good. And I
Mhm.
think even since then, he said he worked on his fitness. He obviously raced the Supercross Futures main event at the SMX final in Vegas and did pretty good there. So yeah, definitely he's come a long way in the last 2 years. Again, he was on like a trial run here in the U.S. last year with Gas, and if I'm not mistaken, his dad said he hasn't even moved to the US full time yet. Like his dad is still living overseas, and so they're
He's
still
still
like,
committed to work and
yeah,
paying the bills.
they're still trying to figure that out. But awesome start to him for so far. All right, let's talk about here the program for the 2025 Supercross Futures, aka SMX Next Supercross. Um, So basically, the top riders from each qualifying session will make it to the main event. There's no heat races. They just have a main event. And then the top 5 riders from that main event will qualify for the championship main event, which again is going to be in Pittsburgh this year. And then obviously if a rider wins, 2 races, then they'll take the sixth place rider from the second race and so on and so forth, to eventually fill the full gate for the main event championship finale. So if I'm looking at the schedule here, obviously we mentioned Glendale being the first race this weekend. And then we have another round at Daytona, which is going to be interesting. That's going to be the second round, March 1st. Excuse me. That one was absolutely chaos last year. I don't know what you guys remember from that one, but just Daytona as a whole was chaos. That main event, there was guys crashing left and right, and that's one of those tracks that's more motocross than supercross, but that was still a wild main event for those supercross futures guys. And then again, we're going to Birmingham, Alabama, which is an SMX Next round, and then the Foxborough round, which is repeating as an SMX Next round again, and then the championship finale, which again the riders have to qualify for, is going to be April 26th at Acrisure Stadium. Me as a Pittsburgh guy, Cody's a PA guy. We're excited about that one. So just when you guys think about the program here, we're going to look at the entry list here. One thing to note, we're going to show the entry list graphic here. we're looking at some fast guys here. I know we talked about some of these guys before we started this, and we've been texting about some of these guys. Jeremy Fapani had a really good ride at Loretta's the last 2 years. Landon Gordon's been really good. I know him and his brother have been um, working hard at the test track. I got to watch them a little bit last year training for Supercross. Enzo Timmerman, another Kawasaki rider, is going to be strong. Landon Gibson is still a youngster. He's going to be a guy to watch on his Husqvarna. We've got some Star Yamaha guys that are going to be interesting to watch. Grayson Townsend, he's moved from a Kawasaki to a Honda. He's kind of one of those maybe under the radar guys, but he had a really good Loretta's last year. Liam Olaf, Cole Timbo, Luke Fauser, Alexander Fedortsov. He's another fast guy, maybe kind of under the radar there for Club MX. And then Christian Yannick, he's on a Rock River Yamaha. So just looking at you guys, looking at the century list with you guys, Travis, who are you most excited to see here this weekend?
Honestly, there's a ton of guys that I'm interested to see how they do. I feel the Star Boys are definitely the favorites. Well, I mean, there's some other guys too, Landon Gordon, Landon Gibson. Gibson had some good rides, if I remember, last year. Um, I mean, there's a ton of guys. Fauser, he got a podium last year, I believe. There's a lot of kids. Liam Olaf is somebody that I'm looking at close because he was extremely impressive at Loretta's, but he's on a new bike this year too. So yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I definitely think Manier and Dudney probably have to be the favorites, but I mean, from what I hear, like I'm sure he's massively improved, but Dudney's supercross skills haven't always matched up to his outdoor skills. So it'd be interesting to see the progress he's made.
And Cody, what do you think?
I, I'm very interested in watching a lot of these guys. One would probably be Landon Hartz. He's been kind of tearing it up out here at Moto Sandbox with Brandon Hartraft and Alpha Dynamics. And Luke Fauser also. He's been ripping, like Travis said. I think he got on the podium last year, and he's really dialing in that KTM and tearing it up out here. It looks really good. So I'm excited to watch him. And there's Fapani. I'd love to see how he does. I'm interested to see kind of. I don't know if I've actually got to ever see him on Supercross or if he was in the futures before, but that's one guy I'm interested in watching and seeing how he does. And then obviously like the star guys. I watched Dudney and Manar here a little bit at Sandbox, and I'm definitely intrigued to see if they live up to the expectations and hopefully, have a smooth season this year and watch them progress and grow.
Yeah, and you're literally coming to us live from a camper in Moto Sandbox right now. You're the boots on the ground guy. You've been watching them ride here the last couple weeks, which has been cool. I'm kind of interested to see if we can get a Gibson Gordon Hearts battle for the Landon versus Landon. That'd be kind
It's
of
gonna be crazy between them. I have a feeling they're gonna somehow get connected by the end of the main. Between any time in the main, they're gonna somehow find each other.
Yeah. And Travis, you mentioned Manier. Can you explain to us like pretty much where he was at a couple months ago at the Moto Combine, like an Ironman? I don't think anybody knew who he was, and he goes out there and he wins that first moto, and everybody's like, "Who the heck is this guy?"
Yeah, he did kind of come out of nowhere again. Like Daniel Blair kind of found him, and yeah, he comes over for Ironman, wins, dominates the first moto, and yeah, next thing you know, Bobby signs him, and he had a decent Australian Supercross series. I think he got a couple podiums, maybe even should have. I think if I remember correctly, he got robbed of a win at the last round with a penalty and some drama like that. But yeah, he's definitely. I mean, the ride at Ironman enough is like enough to be like, all right, this dude is the real deal. So yeah, we haven't seen him much in America, but um, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. Like, I think he has the potential to win, but we just haven't seen him that much. But I think he has enough experience in Australia and all that, that he could, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if he just comes out and wins. Also, this is the first first time we're gonna see him race the Star Bike, so that'll be interesting too.
Yeah, I was gonna say you, Cody, you got to watch Dudney. I think it was a star debut at Minios just a
Yep.
couple months ago. I know that was a couple months ago in Minios, but how did he look down there?
Yeah, he was on fire down there. He did have a few bad motos here and there, but overall he was just lighting it up. He battled Landon a good bit, but at the end of the day, he was the dominant rider there and the top dog. If he had his starts, it was his race to win. Um, Landon Hartz was very impressive at Minios too. He won 5 out of 6 titles in the B class. So he's coming off big confidence boost coming from that event. And that's what it's exciting to see some of these guys start their new fresh year and kind of see how they take it into the season.
Yep, I agree. It's going to be a lot of fun watching these guys and again watching the graduates of the program too on the pro race right after them. So just some closing thoughts. Do you guys have anything else to add about the program or anything else we're looking forward to?
Um, no, like I said, like it's like just a great opportunities for these kids. And actually, one thing I remember from last year, especially when you bring up Daytona, like they get to ride the track, first thing, like fresh track, but they also ride the track when it is absolutely brutally rough. So, I mean, they're getting every aspect of Supercross. So, yeah, it's interesting to watch. Most of the time, it's pretty impressive. Sometimes it's a little scary for some of the kids, but I mean, yeah, they're it's just cool to see them learn and see them progress, as you know, guys from last year see their progression this year. It's gonna be interesting to see.
Yeah, I have to agree. That's what I'm excited to watch these kids really progress and see what they can do on this, true SX track like this, and to display their true bike skills out there because we all know Supercross is very tough and it's demanding and hitting whoops for 8 minutes straight is tough and it's very interesting to see how these kids take it all in and hopefully have a great year this year.
Yep, we look forward to it. Well, thank you guys for joining me. If you guys want to watch the SMX Next Supercross race this weekend in Glendale and the pros as well, you can tune into Peacock. And if you're